case where we've hit the declarative cliff, right? We like, I want to show a color here, and there's nothing that does that yet. Obviously, anyone could make some more components to do it, but we're going to build one of those components right now. So what we have to do is we have to go into code to do that. So I'm going to pull up my terminal. And I'm actually going to create a new directory called tilemoji. It's totally empty. And then I'm going to use the uesio command line interface. And I can see that I've got a lot of options here. I can actually look in for my app related options. So uesio app help. I've got two commands, clone and init. But what we're going to do is actually clone this. So cloning will bring down all of our configurations so far into our local development environment. So we'll go uesio app clone. I have to sign in. Okay, we're going to just take the Ben tilemoji app. These are all the other apps I have access to. So what this is doing is loading in all of the data. It's also running an npm install. That's what actually takes most of the time. Okay, ls. So we can see that we've got some files added to our system. But let's actually, so we can track this better, let's initialize a Git repository. So Git init. Okay, now we've done that, we can actually go to our favorite Git client and add a repository. Set. Okay, so we can see all the files that we created. Some of these are just, some default ESLint configurations, things you don't really care about. But we can also see the metadata. Inside the bundle folder, we can see the metadata that we've created. We have a collection called color. We have some fields on that collection. We have a logo, our tilemoji logo, and we have our two views that we created, ready to be committed into source control. So let's go ahead and commit those. Let me just call this commit, and we'll. So we have a clean blank slate to work with. Now, as I showed you, we could use generators in the studio, but we can also use generators in the command line interface. So if I go uesio generate component pack, and we'll call it main, then I go look in my changes here, and I can see that we created a component pack called main. There's not much metadata there. It's just the name. And then what we can do is generate a component. We'll put it in the component pack main, and we'll call it color box. Now we've created two files for our component. And this is going to be like a hello world type component, but it will help you get started with writing your TypeScript, JSX, and React is how you build custom components here. But we also have a manifest file for our component that tells us, okay, what properties does it have? How should the builder react to this component? So let's go ahead and commit that. And now if we want to see this component we've just generated back in the studio, what we have to do is pack it and then deploy it. Now all I have to do is refresh my page and then type in color, and it's available here on my namespace as an available component. And if I drag it up here, you can see that it says hello world, and it has the text property, just like we were expecting. Okay, so now let's actually write a color box component. I'm not actually going to write the code, but what you can do, I'm going to copy and paste it in. So let's go ahead and open our directory in VS Code. Demos. Okay, so now we can see our bundle directory. This is where all of the uesio metadata is stored, and we can go to our component packs and edit this TypeScript file. Now I'm just going to copy this in. Zach, do you want to provide some color commentary while I
while you copy it in?
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing I'll point out is, so when we're talking about the metadata here, Ben is deploying the changes and retrieving changes from a workspace. So workspace is a concept of the studio that is a workspace is similar to it could be like a Git branch, depending on how many branches you would have. But a workspace is really an isolated environment purely for building. So right now, the app has all this metadata, but you build all of that in a workspace. So when he's deploying, it's going up to this one particular workspace. And as we'll show later, the workspace you can then package and use that in an actual environment which we'll show sites later. But that's where all the magic of building really happens. And with Uesio, we really want you to be able to build as much as you want. Building is, building, we want to encourage you to build as much as you want. There's no limits on building in workspaces. How many, workspaces you can have, that's up to you. So yeah, I'll let you go back.
So what I did here is I added a color. I deployed this, our new color box went back to the workspace. I'm adding a new column in this table called color. And then what I can do is just go ahead and drag this color box component into that slot. And now in our manifest for the color box, we added a color property. And what we can do is take the context of the row that we're in and merge in the hex value of the color. So that's what we're doing. And as you can see, now the color box is displaying the color from the hex value.